Hello everyone, I'm Steve DeWinter. Welcome to another ODNT Spotlight. And we have a very special guest for you here today. We have the supreme goddess of the universe, Jennifer Fisch-Ferguson, here today. And she's going to be talking about a new series that she has had going on for a while, but book 3 is coming up soon. But in her Warriors of Luna series, we have Enter the Moon is book 1 in that series. Book 2 is Howl at the Moon. And then coming in November of 2015, so if you're watching this fresh, it hasn't come out yet, is Follow the Moon. And this is an excellent time to actually have Jennifer on ODNT Spotlight because we are only 2 days away from September 27th, which is the Supermoon lunar eclipse, also called Blood Moon with a whole bunch of scientific gobbledygook. But this is a show about fiction, not about science. So September 27th, we have the Supermoon lunar eclipse. It won't be happening again until 2033. So this is a perfect time to switch on over to Jennifer because she's bringing us werewolf stories at one of the best lunar eclipses in the recent time. So welcome, Jennifer, to ODNT Spotlight. How are you?
Thanks, Steve. I am great.
Excellent.
How are you doing?
So tell me, what made you decide I'm going to do a story about werewolves?
I always have enjoyed werewolves. I've always really loved the notion, but I hate horror. I am one of those squeamishy people that watches it through their fingers and then I have nightmares forever. So I decided when I was about 8 or 9 and my loving aunt forced me to sit through a couple of runs of horror movies that I was going to start writing werewolves that I could relate to. And so I've been working on it a while. And what happened is I found that I actually like the dual aspect of instinct versus intellect. So it's not horror. So anybody looking for horror, sorry, it's definitely urban fantasy.
Go find some other werewolf book.
Yep.
These ones are deeper than that.
Little bit. So I love exploring that nature of having your intellect as a human, but what happens when you have this instinct that pushes at you and has slightly different desires maybe than what your frontal lobes want to think. So I started from there and it kind of spiraled out into this really huge world. And I tried to figure, okay, so what does a werewolf look like and how would they act? And then I decided, well, the best disguise is one you don't see coming. So what if they look like us? What if they don't actually even know they're a werewolf yet?
Ooh.
And took it out from there. So that was my first inspiration, is being traumatized as a child.
With all the horror movies.
With all the horror. So I toned it down a little bit.
Well, it's great to see werewolves coming back into the mix.
Slowly but surely.
That are not horror. And I think that's great.
I enjoy it so far. I've gotten really good feedback because people actually like the human aspect. Because, most of us kind of have this little dark side that we try to keep hidden. And if you're a werewolf, you just express it differently. You actually have the excuse to go out and do the things.
So do your werewolves in your story follow the same only on a full moon?
No. Actually, I worked really hard, did a lot of research, believe it or not, with ancient German texts, which, by the way, are not real easy to get translated. Nobody speaks ancient German anymore. Imagine that. But the way it works with my werewolves is they can shift anytime. They actually have 3 forms: the human form, the wolf form, and then their perfect blended form is what I call the warrior form. So those are when you Google werewolf and you see them standing bipedally and with all the claws.
Oh, okay.
But the way I work the cycles is with the full moon, that's where your instinct takes over more. So you're closer to the wolf. And with the new moon, you're closer to human.
Oh, my.
So, yes, talking about your dual personalities. So they go through a little of this shifting of who's in the driver's seat and who gets to run it.
Oh, my. And how to deal with all that.
Right. So, when your instinct is telling you, hey, I really want the steak rare, but you're kind of a hockey puck type of person. What do you do?
Yeah, I'm a hockey puck kind of person. My wife's just show it the fire, but don't let it get too close.
Just kind of wave it over the top of the fire.
That's too close for her.
Oh. Yeah, I'm a minute and a half on each side type of person. So
yeah. Excellent. So As well as, so you also are writing book 3, and
Yes.
when I sent you the questions, I says, what's your inspiration for the latest book? Well, it's because everyone's screaming at you for the 3rd book.
Yeah, I've done apparently the faux pas of it. Imagine this takes me a year in between each book because of external forces such as family, work, all these good things. But it's been 2 years since the first book came out, and people are like, so what's happening? We need to know what's going on. And even though I love connecting with people on Facebook, I don't send out a lot of teasers. So it's not like, oh, I'm working on the book. Here's a teaser for it. I'm like, I'm working on the book. This part made me cry. And people are like, really? That was your teaser for today? Can we get a little more?
Now we want to read it even more.
So I'm getting some really amazing feedback from people saying, we would like to finish the story. Come on with it. And my rule of thumb has been so far that I have released it on the full moon in December. Which has been my trend. So the reason it's actually the full moon in November is this year the full moon in December is Christmas.
Not a good day. Everyone's already done shopping.
Yeah, people are a little busy those days. So I figured I think I might bump it up a month. So
there you go.
My editor, Artie, had a small panic attack and looked at me like I was crazy and said, really, you're taking 30 days from us. But everything is going awesome. We are on track. We are in edit mode furiously, and good sessions.
Yep, just tell him he's glad you didn't shoot for the super blood moon.
Oh, no.
It'd be coming out in 2 days.
Yeah, I would not be nearly as calm at this point.
You're running back and forth. Ah!
A little freaked, like, oh my gosh, did I forget that? Really, actually, our editing sessions I find to be hilarious because I enjoy editing and so does he. So we actually have a lot of fun when we come together, which may be counterintuitive for people thinking about editing something, but we're goofballs. We have a great time.
So when you do your editing, do you actually physically get together and
Yes.
hash it out and argue and fight?
Well, not so much hashing it out and fighting, but he has come up with a system that he calls Raptor Clause, which means I have neglected to put a word into the sentence, and he needs to know if I had intended to put it in there or not. But yeah, I have the amazing benefit that we're only a half an hour away from each other, so we get to meet up and hang out and do things besides work. So when we're ready to work, we can really get to it.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good. So you formed a friendship outside of the editing.
Absolutely.
Which helps.
Absolutely.
It makes it nice and smooth when you get together for the editing. Do you ever just send stuff back and forth, or do you always get together to talk about it?
No, we definitely send stuff back and forth. So here's the lowdown dirty details. Artie was a former student for my editing and publishing class, so I actually trained my own editor.
Oh.
So everything that he pushes back at me, I really can't say much to, because he's like, so somebody trained me that this was the proper way to do things. I'm like,
that's how I taught you. No.
Like, oh, okay, you're right.
I gotta change how I teach these people.
Right. It's like, oh, you paid attention when I was talking. Great. Okay, I'm gonna have to remember that. So yeah, it's pretty amazing. He's been an amazing colleague, and we do editing as our side gig, I guess we could call it. But I am blessed to have the best editor in the world. So
that's excellent, and he was trained by the best.
Right? Absolutely. Who else gets goddess trained editing services?
Nobody. That's excellent. Well, talking about the training, you don't just do writing, which is also one of the reasons why your books come out
every year
at normal pace.
Right?
Not slow, not fast. They're coming out at a normal pace. But you also teach writing and editing and everything at Michigan State University?
Michigan State University, yes. I am in the last throes of my PhD, so huzzah. Almost done.
All right.
I will sleep for probably a couple of weeks after that. But yeah, I've actually been very fortunate that I have taught everything from community college on up. So I have had all sorts of writers and amazing students, really. I am not one of those that has to complain about having students who are horrible. My students come in and work. That's what we do. We get in and we write. So
right. So is it a lot of fiction writing that you're teaching, or is it essays, or
both? Yep. I just got out of this amazing genre writing class where I allowed the students to pick the 4 genres that we wrote, and then they had to write a short story a month. So that was a great break from first year essay writing. It was kind of stretch those creative muscles and really look at what makes a genre. So when people talk about new adult versus young adult, what is that? Where are the differences? And really digging in and then figuring out, how do I write this story that's new adult? And, it made it really interesting because some of the students are like, I really am proud of this piece and I don't want my mom ever to read it.
it's too new adult.
It's too with the sexy. So that's one of the conversations we have is young adult is kind of less with the sexy. New adult is like, hey, we're adults kind of at 20 and 21. So
and the lines are blurring here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then one of my other favorite classes was memoir writing, because I am dealing with, 22, 23-year-olds who are like, I don't have enough experience to write a memoir. And then I prove them wrong.
Right.
So,
my life and everything you learned in kindergarten. That was it.
Absolutely.
Once you hit first grade, you were ready to write a memoir. You just didn't have the writing skills. The rest of the thing through high school was to teach you how to write what you learned in kindergarten.
Absolutely. And according to my kindergartner, who is in his 3rd week of kindergarten, he has learned everything and he's ready to be done.
He's ready to come back home and enjoy some homemade tomato soup from tomatoes from your personal garden and grilled cheese sandwiches.
The best thing about having a garden is your children never tell you they're bored in the summer, because I'm bored is followed up with, well, you can weed the garden for the next 15 minutes.
They're never bored. Well, at least they never tell you they're bored.
I have heard that for 4 years. The words "I'm bored" do not come out of their mouths.
Smart kids. How long did it take them to figure that one out?
After the 3rd time of pulling weeds, they're like, okay.
We see a pattern here.
We are no longer, but we will find something to do.
That's excellent. So we were talking a little bit about your students when you were doing your teaching for the difference between young adult and new adult. I think your Warriors of Luna series falls under the urban fantasy genre, right? So
correct.
Tell me, what is urban fantasy? Because there's a lot of people talking here and there and what it is, what it isn't, everything. So from your perspective and somebody who's a professional at teaching this stuff, what do you think?
Professional. Yay! Urban fantasy is, in a nutshell, everyday life events that happen to have magic or fantastical elements rolled in, such as werewolves or non-glittering vampires.
Specifically non-glittering.
Specifically non-glittering. Although I must share, I did see a meme on social media that was a note to Dracula from Tinkerbell saying, "Do you remember that night 9 months ago? We have a son. His name's Edward."
That's great. Brilliant.
But urban fantasy is taking your everyday events and spicing it up with some fantasy or with some magic and saying, okay, so I have this everyday normal life, except for I found out there are werewolves in my lineage. What do I do with that? Or I have this really great, normal, everyday, run-of-the-mill, boring life, and I just found out I can work magic. So urban fantasy is taking fantastical elements and putting them into our everyday life.
So as opposed to portal fantasy, where we take them from the everyday world to another realm.
Correct.
It's those elements from another realm staying here.
Right. And they're just integrated seamlessly. The way a lot of people have integrated it is it's always been here. You just haven't learned what to look for yet. It's all around you. You're just not paying attention.
Well, and as an example for all around you, I think you've got for your Warriors of Luna series, the werewolves are all hanging out in Central Park.
Yep, one particular pack is in Central Park, and contrary to everyday myth that Central Park is seated on a big slab of bedrock, what I postulated is no, actually, there's a pretty intricate tunnel system underneath there. First, starting when they wanted to put subways there, but it was too hard to drill through bedrock, so they're a network of tunnels that some connect, some don't. But this is where my pack runs and how they're able to be in a city of 22 million people and not be caught.
Right.
So they inhabit this 800-acre park underneath.
And there's another reason not to walk around the park at night. Werewolves.
They're the good guys, actually. They protect people. So,
do you have any bad guy werewolves?
No, but well, okay, that's not necessarily true. I have made them kind of flexible. So again, working with that duality of intellect and instinct, just like no person is particularly good or evil unless you really, really are. But the average person kind of fluctuates back and forth. So yeah, you have some who have great days and you have some who are a little snippy. And then you have the werewolves that have to be told by their alpha, I don't care that Halloween is coming up. You may not run around in shifted form. So they run the whole gamut of what do you do? And again, it's that concept of you have all this power, you have this new thing. What do you do with it? Are you going to go break in and rob people, or are you going to be, the person that looks out for the underdog, as it were?
So as much as you're dealing with werewolves and the magic, this story is really just a personal story of how to deal with this new thing that goes beyond the natural.
Yeah, when my heroine actually finds out that the supernatural exists, so backing up a little bit, my girl was going to be an opera diva. She had the talent for music at age 7. She started in the Juilliard School of Music pre-college program. She was going to be an opera diva, and she knew this. And then fast forward some years, and all of a sudden, through a chance encounter, she found out the supernatural existed. And it kind of derailed her life. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Hold on a second. What do you mean werewolves are real? No, that doesn't work in the opera diva world. This is not one of the scenarios we have prepared for. And it really throws everything she knew up in the air. So her story is kind of that coming to age, coming to grips with when your dreams are shattered, what do you do? When you have to start all over because your life plans are no longer attainable, what do you do? And so she takes that, and the one thing obviously being a heroine is she's like, oh no, I'm not going to crumple into a little ball and cry. That's not who I am. I'm going to make a new life.
I'm a werewolf. We don't give up.
Actually, we don't know if she is or if she's not. That's one of the questions she keeps having. She finds it's in her lineage, but lineage doesn't mean that it directly translates down to you.
Right, so she's not 100% full-blood werewolf.
No.
Which also goes in play with the diversity aspects of your story, where she's also not one full-blood race of anything.
No, she is definitely biracial, Irish and Italian. And part of the reason I felt real strongly about that is I am a biracial person myself, Filipino, German, and African. Not even African-American, but African.
African.
African from the continent. My biological father actually came over. So it's important for me that biracial characters are actually seen as biracial. A lot of times you'll be introduced of, oh, the mother was this, the father was that, but they're a black character. Or, oh, the father was Norwegian, the mother was Dutch, but they're a white character. And I think you lose a lot of cultural heritage, a lot of cultural flavor by just saying they're this monotone character. So Kama is very proud of her heritage. She is very clear, very loud about being biracial. And then just to twist everybody on their ear, anyhow, her mother is Irish by way of Michigan. So from a group that had settled in Michigan, she's Irish. But her father is Italian, but he's a black man from Italy. Because they do exist.
They are there.
They are there. So where she gets her foreign aspects, and one of the arguments in a short story I had her have is, they're like, well, you're African American, and she's like, well, I'm kind of Irish Italian. No, I'm a little confused by these titles, and so they're finally like, well, what do you want us to call you? And she's like, Kama. You know?
Nice.
If you're going to give me all these labels, let's just break it down. So,
And then she finds out she's also part werewolf.
you know, just throw a little bit of everything.
But is it the recessive gene or is it dominant? Is she gonna turn?
She's not even sure, and she has to find out.
Excellent. And that's what reading the first book is all about.
Absolutely. Taking her life and throwing it in a blender, and you get to see the spatter.
Excellent, excellent. And for those of you watching this on YouTube, or if you're watching embedded in a video, just click the little button down there that says watch on YouTube, and I have the Amazon link for Jennifer's page, and there where you can get the first 2 books in the series so that you can add yourself to the cacophony of voices going, "Where's book 3?"
Awesome. Awesome.
And then also it sounds like there's a little bit of you in Kama.
I do not sing opera, but
But you wanted to.
I like to clarify that I am a musician. I've played many, many instruments. I actually have a very natural ear. So all through high school, all through college, I played. Little bit of Kama, probably. I think I'm a feisty person most days. Maybe. Ask my kids about me before coffee. They would definitely agree. So
Before coffee, you're a little more werewolf than human.
little bit more. They have learned to ask if I've had my coffee before prattling on. So
Only took 3 times to figure that out.
I think that was the first. I might have growled a little bit.
And so despite that you put a little bit of you in the main character, you have a rule about taking people for real life that you know and like and putting them into your story. What is this rule?
Yes, absolutely. My rule is you can only be dead in the story. So actually, it's been a fun time lately. I've had a bunch of fun lunch dates with my friends that I'm killing off in the 3rd book. And then writing eulogies for them. And then, you put things on Facebook to your friends like, "Hey, are we meeting up about lunch for that eulogy?" And then all of a sudden people are like, "What? What's happening?"
Who died?
But my rule kind of came from, thankfully not my own experience, but watching other people where they've based a character on somebody else, and all of a sudden the friend's really affronted, like, "Well, that's not me." Well, no, it's a character.
Right.
So my hard and fast rule is if you're going to be in one of my books, you're dead.
You're
Then we'll
you're
say
dead
nice
or you're going to die.
No, they're dead.
Oh,
they're
they
dead.
start out dead?
They start out.
So you don't even give them a sentence of
Nope.
life on the page because you don't want them to go, "Hey, I wouldn't have been like that."
Yeah, pretty much. And it's much more fun to eulogize your friends and say, "Well, we'll make you sound awesome on the page." So,
So how is the reception from all your supposed friends? Into this.
well, so this isn't spoiling a whole bunch, but I had 8 deaths that I had to fill, and I had about 25 people saying, "Well, can I be dead?" Like, I'm sorry, I already filled the dead slot. Maybe the next book. So my friends are actually amazing, awesome people and supportive anyhow, but they were kind of like, "I want to be a dead person in your book. What's up?" So,
Well, fortunately for them, you're writing more books. So you're finishing up book 3. You're in the final throes of editing
correct.
with a release date in November, which is why the panic from your editor going, "What?" And so, is this just going to be a trilogy?
For Kama's story,
Yeah,
absolutely.
For Warriors of Luna. Oh,
For her particular story.
ah.
However, in book 1, you're introduced to one of her classmates named Cade. And he reoccurs in book 2 and in book 3. And people like Cade. They really like Cade. And so I started off with a series of, well, it's an anthology, I guess, of short stories about him that is probably ready next June. I hate to really put a date on it because I hate to put dates on it, but
I'll flash that up on the screen. Coming in June 2016.
But it's 10 short stories that I have in various states of being done, of just about what he does and the adventures that he gets into after having met Kama and interacted with her. So he's one of my fun characters.
So Warriors of Luna Anthologies Volume 1.
Coming out. And then the other one, so to piggyback on this, people ask if I ever get writer's block. Absolutely not. I write 5 or 6 projects at a time. So when I get stuck on one and my brain needs to work on it, I move to the next. So when I say I have all these projects in various states, sometimes it's like a couple thousand words, sometimes it's mostly done, but that's how I keep writing daily. But to that end, my other book is about Beth, who is Kama's best friend. And she's the Omega character. And we want to find out what happens with Beth. What does she stay as an Omega? What goes on? Because as I was scratching out book 3 and getting the outline together, Beth kind of kept tapping me mentally on the shoulder saying, so you going to leave me as the Omega? I mean, really? This is what I got? So her story started to develop pretty loudly. And actually, since we had to switch camera angles, nobody can see the whiteboards behind me, which is a good thing because Beth's story is outlined entirely on the whiteboards behind me.
We would have gotten a sneak peek. Zoom in on that.
Yeah. And instead you get rocks. Pretty rocks.
There we go. So it will still stay a secret.
Yes, just for a little while longer. It's being written in bits and pieces, but book 3 took precedence, so we definitely move forward on that one and then moving out. Yes.
And then you also, so you said the anthology is probably not due out till June. You don't really want to put a hard date on that.
Right.
But also when I look at your webpage, I see that you're also working on a paranormal romance series. Is that still coming February 2016? Or is this webpage old?
Oh, no. It actually is, the first book is done and edited. The second book is almost done. And then, hey, Artie, you've got another book to edit. Love you. Love you.
You heard it here first, Artie.
Yeah. So what happened is I was in an online writers group that's multi-genre, and everybody's like, oh, my genre is the hardest to write. And a really smart friend said, okay, so let's take a challenge. We're going to all throw our genres into the virtual hat and everybody gets to pick a genre. And I'm like, great. Anything but romance. I'm not writing a romance. I'm not doing it. And I was the first person to pick and got romance. And I was like, okay.
No!
So, well, can I at least make it paranormal? Can there be werewolves? And they said yes. So
there you go.
That was the challenge, and I dug in, and I'm actually really proud of myself. It turned out fun. It turned out sassy. One of my beta readers said that it was the first book she had read where she had a book best friend instead of a book boyfriend. She had a book best friend now. So,
oh, very nice.
Yeah, it's called Out of the Blue, and yes, February 2016.
Out of the Blue's coming out February 2016?
Correct.
And then the next one shortly thereafter, and then the third one 5 years from now. Thanks a lot, Jennifer.
Yeah, you know.
You get these first 2 out, boom, boom, and then wait.
Yeah, see, but authors use words, not numbers. This is why I don't do the maths. I tell people this all the time.
We have to start calling you Jennifer R.R. Martin Fisch-Ferguson.
See, I have one job. That is writing, not the maths.
Excellent. So we talked about your Warriors of Luna series. Are you going to, I was looking at an online map, and it looks like you might be in a good position to see the supermoon lunar eclipse.
Yes. Actually, I live just south of Flint, Michigan, and they have Longway Planetarium, which is the largest planetarium in Michigan. So let me pump them just a little bit.
All right.
They are having a special program on Sunday night to do the supermoon. So I am that parent. Yes, I apologize to my kids' teachers. They're going to be cranky, but we are going to see the supermoon at the planetarium with all the awesome equipment they have. So
that's going to be
so excited.
So nice. Yeah, I'm on the West Coast, so all the magic's going to happen before it rises up for me.
Oh,
it's like,
bummer. And sadly, there isn't a way to take good pictures, at least not for me to take good pictures of it. I could send you a little grainy thumbnail shot of what I see.
From my old Motorola flip phone.
There you go. Click.
So
yes,
excellent.
Phones are not my best friend anytime, let alone for the camera.
You know, I don't know what it is. I can't seem to take a good picture at all with any of these cell phone cameras. They all come up blurry, spotty, and I'm like, I don't know what's wrong. My wife takes the phone and she's perfect picture every time. I take it. It's awful. I don't understand. It hates me.
I just take like 50 and then, fill up the SD card, but I that one good photo and then I can erase the rest of them.
Excellent, excellent. Mine are always blurry and I don't know why. I get the zoom and the focus and everything. So excellent.
No way.
So, you're a member of SFRA. Is that Science Fiction Readers of America? What is that?
Science Fiction Research Association.
Ooh, even better.
Yeah, so
even better.
For people who actually take science fiction fairly seriously and kind of cross that line of what is hypothetically real, what is science fiction, what is science fact, and pushing it forward. And lots of great conversations, a lot of writers in there as well. But just talking about, hey, here is a group of like minds. Let's debate things. Let's talk about things. Let's put out short stories that speculate, looking at what hypothetically is the next fax machine. Stories were written about fax machines in the 60s, and yet they came to be. So what is possible?
Right. So that is the group that's actually going to really do true speculative fiction of
Absolutely.
What if that could actually come about.
Right.
As opposed to the people that are just making it up because I watched a few episodes of Star Trek.
We're going to wave the magic wand and it is. So.
Excellent, excellent. All right, so we've gone over your books. We've gone over your the work that you do for teaching others to write. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We always need no more crops of new writers coming out.
Absolutely. Tap that creative.
So is there anything else you would like to talk about before we wind down the interview?
Well, one, thank you so much for having me here. This has been amazing and fun. Lots
Thank
of
you
laughs.
for being on my show. It's been great. My show is nothing without guests. Few words, reach out. Especially indie authors, love to hear from people. I mean, believe it or not, we actually do like to talk about our work. So good and bad. And I will say this honestly for myself, maybe not for everybody. I don't mind critiques. I really don't. It, for me, is a start of a discussion. I have gotten critiques where they're like, well, this isn't a romance book. And then I get to educate people about urban fantasy. Are they going to say that about your paranormal romance?
I really hope not. If they're like, well, this was an urban fantasy, then I just, smile. Smile and go about my business. But no, on Facebook, I'm active. I chat with people all the time. I post on my website a lot about writing and a lot about Zumba because I do Zumba a lot. So
fun.
I write a lot about that. And then I just started Pilates. So I keep writing myself love letters for when the class is over so I can look back and remember it wasn't so easy in the beginning. But no, I'm interactive. I love to hear from people, love to chat with people. So please.
Yeah, and for those of you that are watching this, down below, I have links to her website, to her Facebook page, and her Twitter handle. And so she's already told you she wants you to reach out and get in contact with her. So go for it. And hopefully you will have found a new author with an exciting series of werewolves. I mean, that made me very excited.
Yay.
I'm like, yeah, werewolves.
Werewolf Supermoons.
Oh, yeah, it's awesome. So, all right. Well, thank you so very much, Jennifer. Go ahead and hang on the line for a moment.
Okay.
After I finish, I'm going to close out the interview here, and then we'll come back. We'll chat for a little more and everything. But thank you so very much for being on ODNT Spotlight and having the spotlight shined on you.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, I'll be right back. So thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
All right, so once again, that was Supreme Goddess of the Universe, Jennifer Fisch-Ferguson, and promoting her upcoming book that's coming out in November 2015, Follow the Moon. And so definitely look for that. But right now, available now at Amazon, you can pick up Enter the Moon and Howl at the Moon so that you can get those read and be prepared for the third book coming out in just a little over a month. You don't have much time, so you want to pick those up now and start reading them. So thanks a lot for being with us for that. Also, this upcoming September 27th, if you're watching this video right away, go see the Supermoon lunar eclipse. It won't happen again until 2033, and it ties in with our wonderful stories of werewolves that we talked about today. So again, I'm Steve DeWinter for ODNT Spotlight Interview. Don't forget to subscribe, and we have many more interviews coming up with authors, artists, illustrators, actors, all sorts of great, wonderful people. So thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye.